I'm recording.
I'm also recording.
Hooray! Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Welcome to Wingin' It, the West Wing Podcast. My name is Andrea, and this is my friend Sallie.
Hey, everybody.
We're so glad that you could join us. We are here talking about Season 3, Episode 4?
Yep.
Yes, Episode 4, On the Day Before.
Because we're not counting Isaac and Ishmael in the episode count.
1, 2, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like most people wouldn't.
No.
Since it was a play or whatever.
Yes.
Hey, let's sing the theme, shall we?
Yes.
Da 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 da. Sallie, did I tell you that the boy that I used to like, I don't know, that boy sent me him singing the West Wing theme song and playing it on the guitar, and I didn't even ask him to do that. He just did that.
Yes,
What?
you did tell me.
Oh gosh, it's terrible. It's quite wonderful, but I just don't listen to it anymore. All to say, it's a good thing
Yeah, I
to
think
have.
for most people listening to this, West Wing related things are the way to their hearts, our hearts.
Yeah,
collectively.
I tweeted about it. He's not on Twitter, and if he listens to this, well, whatever. But I tweeted about it because I thought it was so entertaining, and I got like the most retweets I've had all year. And I had somebody who was like, "You need to marry him." I was like, "Oh heavens!" But it was funny. It was quite funny. All right. Anyway, so on the day before,
in
this episode, well, they're all getting ready for a very big event. Do you know what they're getting ready for?
Yeah, it's the Nobel dinner. They have all the Nobel... I always want to say the Nobel Peace Prize, but it's just the Nobel Prize winners.
Regular Nobel Prizes.
Yeah, everybody. Well, probably some Peace Prize winners too, but everybody is invited.
Mm-hmm. It's always fun in these episodes because everybody's getting all gussied up, and we've got tuxes, and the episode opens with Josh and Donna where she's tying his tie, which is one of many episodes of the Josh and Donna tying the tie episodes. So we're still talking about the estate tax.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's trying to be repealed. So that's still on the table. There's unfortunately a suicide bombing in Jerusalem, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, Donna tries to tell Josh and eventually does tell him about the guy that she went on a date with who now works on the opposing team, who's on the prosecution.
Yeah.
And I feel like those were...
There's a meeting with... Well, they're negotiating about... The president is vetoing the estate tax bill, and they're voting to override his veto. And from that, Toby and Sam are talking to a Democrat who has flipped his vote because he's going to vote also to override the veto. So they're talking to him, and then at the same time, Josh is talking to Buckland, who is a governor, and he is who Victor Campos was flirting with last episode, who is potentially thinking about running for president.
Yes! Oh,
and
gosh.
CJ is having some fun, or not fun, with an entertainment reporter.
Oh, yes. I thought you were going to say her date, but I was like, what? That didn't happen. Yeah, but she's concerned the whole episode about the fact that she's seated next to this chemist who won a Nobel Prize, and she's not going to be able to talk to him. But yes, she definitely puts this Sherry woman in her place, which is quite enjoyable.
Very enjoyable.
Take it away, Sallie. What did you think? Tell us all the thoughts and feelings. Just start anywhere.
I really love this episode. I really liked last episode. I think we talked about last episode that I said I liked last episode, but I love this episode, and that's true. I don't even know why exactly. I just think it just works on every level for me. I was about to say some of my favorite parts, but there's so many favorite parts. I think I don't even know where to begin. But we could start with Josh and Donna, I guess, because
it's an easy place to start.
Yeah, and it's one of my first notes because Donna was tying his tie, and he says he has the line about at the end of the night you want to be able to pull it open like Tony Bennett. That's cute. It's cute. Josh thinking
Tony
about himself
Bennett?
as Tony Bennett. Yeah, of all
of
people.
all the people,
really.
like,
yeah. And
so
Donna's
random.
trying to talk to him about it, which is all well and fine. But when it actually happens, the scene where she actually tells Josh, it's very intense for me.
It is.
I think that Bradley Whitford does a fantastic job because he's pretty mad. And
yeah, he takes it personally.
He takes it very personally. Like he says, he asks he says something like, was it just the one night? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, well, no, and blah, blah, blah. And she says, when we got together the first time, and he interrupts her and is like, you just thought he was on Ways and Means, who I was battling on the estate tax.
Right.
So he's like, even before he's on the oversight committee, I'm annoyed because I was battling him on the estate tax, which, like,
it's his job.
Yeah, and, like, it's Washington. So, like, there's probably a lot of people that you disagree with on something, and it just so happens that you happen to be fighting that battle right now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But loyalty's got to be a big thing,
Yeah. At the same time, though, it's like, that's what I'm saying is, like, yeah, loyalty's a big thing. Well, and he's just upset that Donna's going out with someone, really.
Yeah, let's be honest.
And I think it just makes his blood boil more that it's somebody who is in the opposition in many ways. He's a Republican, he's leading the investigation, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that loyalty is a big thing, but like I was saying, it's going to be so hard to find somebody who agrees with Josh on literally everything, because Josh just wants Donna to date Josh.
Yeah, he was pretty keenly interested, even from the moment that she said that she went on a date right away. Yeah,
he says when. His first question is when. And it's like, why do you need to know when she went on the date? You're not her boyfriend or anything. Mm-hmm. But his face and his delivery in this scene, like him being like wounded or like he's genuinely hurt by this, whether he has a right to be or not. He's like actually upset about it. And I mean, he's also upset about the actual political implications. Like he's also upset that it is throwing a wrench in the investigation too. There's a lot to consider. But it was just such a great scene. It's just a great interaction between them for me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I like these episodes a whole lot. That's my interesting insight.
There's so much more. I guess the CJ stuff would be next for me.
Yeah. So I guess it all kind of starts when CJ's in her press briefing and she's doing regular business. And then this lady, I think her name's Sherry, right?
Yeah, Sherry.
Okay. So Sherry asks, like, who CJ is wearing. And that's the first time a question like that's ever happened in the press briefing room. And so we immediately know, like, okay, there's something going on here. Mm-hmm. And it turns out she's an entertainment reporter who isn't always there. And so that little storyline plays itself out. Because then she basically shames CJ for changing clothes a bunch of different times throughout the evening.
Yeah.
In response to the fact that CJ doesn't give them the answers that they're looking for about the suicide bombing. It's just a strange like power struggle kind of. And then eventually
from someone who doesn't have a lot of leverage in the power. Like it's a power struggle, but it's like, who are you, entertainment reporter, to like be having this struggle? Like none of the other reporters are asking these questions or pushing her on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, well, I guess should we just play that where it ends up at the end? Because it's quite enjoyable.
Let's play that. Yes.
Okay. So this is at the very end of the episode where CJ finally just puts this lady in her place, and it's delightful, isn't it?
CJ.
Hey.
That was totally uncalled for.
Yeah?
My competitors are going to show that tape every local station in town.
What, are you crazy? That thing's going out to 154 affiliates.
Look,
I changed my clothes because I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about the death of 2 teenagers while wearing a ball gown, and you knew that because you're stupid, but you're not stupid. You know what I'm saying? Security's going to take your press credentials. You'll call my office every day, and I'll decide if you get into the room. I'm taking your spot on Pebble Beach. You can do your stand-ups from Lafayette Park. One more word out of your mouth, and every local station in town but yours gets an exclusive with the president. Hunting season on me is over. And the chemical abbreviation for table salt is NaCl.
And I think we all learned something. I think we all learned how to shut down the haters, but also if you didn't know what the letters for table salt were. Well, now you know.
That whole thing is just amazing to me. I mean, and she has the line where she says, "Hunting season on me is over," and I just love that. It's like Stella got her groove back, you know? I mean, CJ's doing great, and she embarrasses her asking her about the House of Representatives. She just, oh man, it was just like,
she shut that down.
Yeah, she did a great job. I mean, maybe you could argue that I was about to say maybe you could argue she went too far, but no, I really don't think. I think she reacted appropriately. Because, I mean, we didn't even talk, because Sherry went on TV and said something about CJ being a clothes horse, and it was just like, ugh.
Yeah, I can't believe that she really did villainize her. She was like, because she was withholding information. They don't release the names of the American citizens. I guess she didn't even confirm that I don't know if she confirmed that they were for sure American citizens or not. I don't remember exactly. But this lady was basically putting it all on CJ, which is just so bizarre. And just painting it like, oh, well, maybe she's not in the loop, and maybe if she didn't spend so much time changing her clothes, then she would know more. I mean, like, that's just a dumb thing to do. And I love that because, obviously, in that clip, CJ's like, you know, you're dumb, but you're not dumb. You know? Yeah. So, that was good. What else? Yes. Who else had good things happening?
Charlie had good things happening. Charlie is approached by literally everyone to talk about whether he should take immunity. And they're sort of, I don't know the word for it, they're sort of coy about like what they're actually talking about. Like, it takes the whole episode for us to really put the pieces together, because everyone comes up to him and he's like, I'm not talking about it. I can't talk about it. And it isn't really until his conversation with Leo that we get what's going on. Like, immunity is sort of, it would benefit him because he wouldn't have to pay for a lawyer, but I was going to say it's sort of jumping ship. It's like implying guilt. He feels like it's betraying the team, and he doesn't want to betray the team. And I just think that that's so wonderful. He says, I'll stay with my team. People should stop trying to get me not to do that. Like, he's like, I'm one of you guys too. Like, he doesn't want to pay the lawyers and all that, but he's one of you guys. So I just love Charlie, of course.
Yes. Although if somebody offered me immunity and it meant that I wouldn't have to pay $100,000, I might take the immunity. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't really know where he plans on getting $100,000, but
a lot of games of pool with Toby. Yeah. Because that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yes, indeed. Yes, Charlie had a good thing going on.
Charlie,
Toby also had a good moment. He had a little win because he had to go in. So basically, they're backed into a corner trying to get this thing passed. And the guy comes in with demands saying, like, hey, we need to, lift the grazing tax or lower the grazing tax or something. But basically, they're in a position where they need this guy, and he knows it. So he just comes in with whatever he wants, and he's in Toby's office, and Leo said to basically give him what he wants without giving away the farm, which is good life advice. But then they go into Leo's office and they decide, you know what? Like, no, we're not going to be pushed around, and tell him everything's off the table. So Toby's able to go back into his office and basically just be a complete baller. He gets to just shut him down completely and say, all right, you know what? We're not doing this anymore. And completely, it's a bluff too. That's the risky part. Is that
it's sort of a bluff. I mean, they're hoping that there's the chance that it won't work, but they're really going to do it, to walk away from it. And to be fair, it's really Sam's shining moment because Sam is the one who comes up with the idea after Leo's office. So I really like that because that was just a fun. Sam's like, let's do this. Let's throw the elbow. And Toby gets to go in and actually do it. But Sam had a pretty big win thinking of it.
True. They're a good team.
Yeah,
an unlikely team, perhaps. But they are a good team.
The scene in Leo's office where they decide, he makes the reference about like throwing the elbows. That whole scene was just so fun. Because, again, it's that same energy from last episode about let Bartlett be Bartlett. Like, we're not taking this anymore. We're not... In the last episode, they said something about they want to veto because the White House is weak. And even in this episode, Josh or someone in the beginning says, if the House successfully overrides the veto, we're going to look weak. And the president says, if the House successfully overrides the veto, we are weak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
I like that. And so it's fun to see him fighting back. Everyone's fighting back. CJ's fighting back. Leo, Sam, Toby, Josh, everybody's fighting back. And that's such a fun... It's fun episodes whenever they're doing that.
Yeah. The other person that's fighting back as well, which I don't remember his name, and I probably should have looked it up. Well, in the scene, in the episode, his name is Jack. But he's a guy from Lost, the man from Tallahassee, if any of you are Lost people. He is, what's the guy's name's dad, who, like, stole his kidney. He's a bad dude, and he's a bad dude in this one. That's just his typecasting. That's just
Who
part of it.
is it in this episode?
Where he's going to run against, he's going to try to run against President Bartlett to get the Democratic in the primary. Jack.
Yeah, he's Buckland.
Is that Buckland?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't put that all together. Okay,
the dude
so
with
yeah.
the push-ups?
Yep, the push-up guy.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. I love the whole episode, but Josh talking to him, and he's like, we don't like that you're healthy. We don't like that every time you throw the ball, it makes it look like Bartlett has to campaign with an oxygen tent. You know, and he's like, I could do some push-ups. It's just... I mean, it goes back to the policy and sort of the thinking about campaign stuff. But they don't want, which is also odd because it's not like that guy's young and super fit.
Right.
But so it's interesting that that's the storyline because he's like, you run the New York City Marathon every year, and I was like, really? Not that he looked bad, but no, that sounded terrible. But
shallow.
No, but you would expect him to bring in someone like Hoynes that looks, that's like young and whatever,
right?
For that storyline.
20 years his junior.
Yeah.
It's interesting because Josh, again, with all the statistics already, but he is rattling off all the reasons why it's preposterous that this guy is going to even think about running against a sitting president.
Yeah.
All the MS stuff aside, because he doesn't have the funding. So Josh is basically like, this is absurd. You can't afford it. There's no way you're going to win. But then he's like, we don't like your health. So they are threatened, but they're not. So he's a threat, but he's not a real threat. Like, it's just kind of a weird. I don't know. It's kind of a weird stance.
Yeah. So that was a fun storyline again, and I like in the end that they're gonna throw elbows and they're gonna do whatever. But Josh actually kind of likes the guy, so he tries to help him, not help him out, not like he needs to throw him a bone, but he's sort of like, wait a minute, I wouldn't hate actually working with you or not throwing the elbow at you, so to speak.
He was supposed to publicly shame him, essentially, or just villainize him and make him look like a bad guy, and then he ends up telling him about positions internally that might be opening up, and maybe he can shift him over there and whatever. But man, there's so much bargaining that goes on behind closed doors.
There really is, yeah. Absolutely.
I really liked when he's in this meeting and he keeps getting interrupted while I think it's Sam and Toby that are in the other meeting.
Yeah.
And Sam says they need more time, and so Donna interrupts them, and then Josh is able to get, or to tell them how to stall. He's like, okay, well, you tell them that they need to do this kind of vote, and that'll give you 20 minutes. And I just thought he was never more attractive than when he's just being super smart while he's in meetings.
It's just fun because we hear about Josh being the Congress expert or the House of Representatives expert, and so it's fun to see it in practice, to see him sort of spouting that wisdom. Yeah, I agree with that. I wrote that down, that I liked that.
I also like when he meets with, I don't know if it's the environmental lobbyists or somebody like that, but he said, I wouldn't know a spotted owl if it came up and introduced itself.
Yeah.
Which you should probably know an owl. I mean, if it goes through all the trouble to actually introduce itself, you should probably remember, hey, that's what it is.
Something else is that this opening was a really long opening. Before the credits, there was so much going on. They're bringing the bill down. They brought it to this new guy in the clerk's office. They've been there 2 weeks. They bring the bill down. They come talk to the president about it. He has the great line about, sometimes it's like, I don't even need to be here. I like that line. And they all sort of talk and forget he's there. There's a lot more, or not a lot more, but it feels like we're getting more of the humor and sass back, which is not to say there wasn't any in the last 3, but...
Yeah, we definitely are overdue.
Yeah, it's more has come back in this episode and in the last episode, but it was. I took a note of it this episode because of how good it was. It's like I don't even need to be here.
Yeah.
CJ's nervous about because like in the beginning there's a lot of funny things. CJ being nervous about the chemist, Toby being like, well, she knows his name, so you know.
Toby says that she's an exceptional conversationalist, which. I love that Toby thinks that about her, and it's probably true. I mean, she talks for a living. But also, what a great quality to have, just in general, of anyone.
It is funny that she's nervous about it, though, because what are the odds that this dude's actually going to want to talk about, like, chemistry? Like, she's just nervous because I guess he's so smart in a realm that she knows very little about, but it's just
I'd
dinner.
be nervous.
You can do it, CJ.
I would say the same thing. I would absolutely say the same thing. But she probably has to do a lot of extroverted things like that where I would have not a real panic attack, but I would be stressed out and probably trying to learn about the table of elements.
The other thing going on that is interesting, well, and we talked about it a little bit in the TikTok at least, is there were suicide bombers in Jerusalem, which has broken or is threatening to break a ceasefire with Israel. Like, it's just it's not a good situation. And what's interesting is that it's a pretty not complicated, but it's a very in-depth storyline, and I almost feel like it didn't get enough screen time. And I noted that I care a lot more about this storyline than, like, for instance, the Haiti storyline we've done, or sometimes there are international storylines or storylines about violence that I'm just like, okay, like, that's happening, but I don't care that much. But on this one I really did, and I was trying to figure out why that was, and I couldn't, so... There's no interesting point there.
It brings them to that moment. We just have a very short scene with Abby Bartlett where they're actually not fighting. This is like the first time in so many episodes where they're just normal married. And President Bartlett comes in and mentions the fact that the 2 boys that were killed were brothers. They were students. And he asks, how often did we have Zoe call and check in with us? And, she says, she calls almost every day. And he really wants Zoe to call every day. And I don't know, just made it more paternal.
I mean, and at the end, they're talking about, maybe this is why I cared more about it, because there's a personal tie to it. But at the end, they're all sort of going around trying to figure out what he can say to the families, how they can... not spin it, but what they need to say from the White House. And they're all tossing things around, and he gets on the phone, and he's like, I have 3 children, and I really don't know what to say. And it is a very human moment. And
that's probably the best thing he could say.
Yeah, because it's honest. Yeah, so maybe that's what it was, that I care about it more. I also think I care about it when, like, it's interesting to be... I love being in the Situation Room. It's always interesting to be, like, on the inside of things, watching the behind the scenes, behind the curtain, so to speak, like, as they're finding out information and all that kind of stuff. So, I liked all of that. I
will say one thing, though, now that you mentioned the fact that he tells them that he's the father of 3 daughters. I think last episode was the first time we've had mention of Elizabeth. Because she was in the list of subpoenas.
Yes, she was in the list of subpoenas. Yeah, that I can't remember her being mentioned before. Which is always so odd to me that they weren't in the shooting episodes when he was in the hospital. Really.
Yeah. I know. Maybe they were just over budget. Couldn't add another person. Or just run out of time.
Maybe so, really. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, apparently at some point in the beginning of season 3, Aaron Sorkin decided that he needed to have a 3rd daughter. Or we completely missed it, which is entirely possible. 50-50
Well, I feel like they mentioned, like, the number of daughters or, like, their... I mean, because we see Ellie, too. Yeah, I'm not totally sure. Because we talked about how there's no pictures of anybody other than Zoe.
Well, and I think I think at some point in season 3, unless I was watching season 5, I think, over the weekend. But I remember seeing on his desk, like in the past couple of days, a picture of Ellie and Zoe. But I did not see one of Elizabeth. Huh. So
interesting.
I'd have to retrace my Netflix steps to find it.
I would love to ask about that.
We'll work on it. I don't have much else because I really just liked the episode a lot. It's enjoyable to watch.
It really was. There wasn't much to like point out that was wrong. CJ has the line when CJ has her turn talking to Charlie at the end of it, she says, "I'm going to go change my clothes." And he says, "I'll watch." And then he's like, "Nope." he says to himself, "No," and just turns around and walks away. That's very funny to me.
There was also at the end when Josh and Donna are talking about his bow tie because it came untied. And I think he said something like, "You really are going to have to," she said, "You're going to have to teach me how to tie it, or you should really learn to tie a bow tie." Yeah. And then Donna says, "No, you should." He's like, "Yeah, but that doesn't seem likely, does it?" I love it.
Yeah, there was definitely more humor back. It's just, once again, like, this is a great episode because there's such serious storylines, there's such intense storylines, but it's still so humorous. It's the perfect mix of that, and that really makes my favorite episodes.
Mm-hmm. There's also that part where Bartlett starts talking about what they're having for the first course at the dinner, and he goes on, and of course Leo would like it, being the foodie that he is, but then Josh is like, "Is any of that, food?" And that's me pretty much always.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So you're going to have a good time in London.
I'm going to have a great time in London.
Oh, if you guys didn't know, Sally's going to London. She'll be back.
I'm going to Europe, for 10 days, so that'll delay some podcasting. Sorry, everyone.
Sorry. There will be enough to go around.
Yes, there will be plenty to go around. We've planned ahead, so.
Man, Sally and I just like to go to Europe and stalk our favorite actors. Not on the West Wing, so don't be alarmed.
Well, yeah. The actor thing is a bonus, just for the record. I'm not actually going to Europe to stalk anybody.
Oh, I definitely did, though. James McAvoy, for the record. Yep. Well, that's all I have for On the Day Before, but we're getting into it.
Pick an MVP?
MVP. I don't know. Who would you pick?
I wrote down that I wanted to give it to Sam because he was really fired up about the veto, and I liked when he had the moment of thinking of giving the stuff to the Republican congressman instead of the Democrat as like the power play. I thought that was good, and it's been a while, so why not?
It has been a while. I'm going to go with Josh, which I know sounds like a likely story, but I don't feel like I've picked Josh in a while.
Yeah, I think it's been a while.
When I think of this episode, I don't really think of Sam. It's an ensemble episode. They all have great moments. I love the Toby moment, but I feel like Josh handles a little bit more of everything. So, I'm going to go with that. Yep.
All right.
Whew, okay. On the Day Before, we'll catch you on the flip side, y'all.
Yeah, we'll see you, or we will hear you next episode.
Which is...
you will hear us, which is War Crimes.
Yep.
It's a good episode.
All right.
So.
War Crimes it
all
is.
Right.
Good times. All right, see you guys later.
Bye, guys.